Napoleon Bonaparte once said, "Let China sleep, for when she wakes, she will shake the world." Well, China's wide awake now and is the second largest economy in the world. Some reports even suggest that China might surpass the US to become the largest economy in the 2030s. Whether that happens or not is something we'll see in the future. But there was one man who saw China's rise coming, Kuan Yew, the founding father of modern Singapore. He was one of the few world leaders who met with every generation of Chinese leadership. In this video, we're sharing some of his best predictions and thoughts about China. If you enjoy this content, don't forget to subscribe to our channel for more.
The Chinese tried the communist model with their own modifications, and it's failed. And they have admitted that it's failed. And they are trying to pick up the same competitive spirit between workers, between different enterprises, which they notice in Hong Kong. So they have opened a new town on the border with Hong Kong called Sam Chun. And they are inducing Hong Kong entrepreneurs to go and create employment. And Dr. Lee Siew Chow and Mr. Jayaratnam talk as if these things have never happened. They haven't learned. Deng Xiaoping is a great man. He fought a great revolution. He saw the product of that revolution turn sour. He was fortunate to live long enough, and he had the courage to say, "No, we change course. Let's learn. Let's stop trying to do everything by ourselves." So they started importing and buying Boeing 707s. So they bought Tridents instead of trying to manufacture their own aircraft. Eventually they will, but it will take 2, maybe 3 generations. That's how we succeeded, because we have open minds, common sense.
The speech you just watched was from 1980, just a few years after China kicked off its economic reforms and turned Shenzhen into a special economic zone. Even back then, Kuan Yew could see the rise of Shenzhen and China coming. Fast forward 40 years, and Shenzhen has become a symbol of China's reform and opening up. What was once a small fishing village is now a massive industrial and financial hub. Before China began opening its doors to foreign investment and shifting from a planned economy to a market economy in 1978, Shenzhen was home to just 330,000 people. After Deng Xiaoping visited Singapore and saw how capitalism could boost the economy, he decided to test the idea by turning Shenzhen into a special economic zone to attract foreign investments. In the 2 decades following Deng Xiaoping's market reforms, the region's GDP grew over tenfold and urbanization took off, fueled by large-scale infrastructure projects. Today, the Guangdong region, also known as the Greater Bay Area, has a GDP comparable to that of South Korea. Kuan Yew not only predicted Shenzhen's rise as a megacity, but also foresaw that China would be able to manufacture its own aircraft within 2 to 3 generations, a prediction that has also come true. China has big dreams of challenging Airbus and Boeing's dominance in the global airplane market, and this ambition is slowly coming to life in a hangar in Shanghai. The Commercial Aircraft Corporation of China, or COMAC, has rolled out its C-919 airliner, a potential competitor to Western-made planes. The C-919 project is part of President Xi Jinping's broader plan to transform China from a maker of sneakers, clothes, and toys into a country that can compete with giants like Airbus and Boeing. Getting the C-919 from the design board to the skies is crucial for Xi, who sees aerospace as a key sector for modernizing China's economy to be on par with Japan and Germany. Making planes is no easy task. Only a few countries do it because the industry has extremely high barriers to entry. It requires a lot of technical expertise, time, and resources. Yet, Kuan Yew was able to foresee that China would achieve this milestone.
One of the questions in our minds here has been that about the future of China and its relationship to Southeast Asia. Some people are saying that China is now so divided politically that there is no great danger for Southeast Asia in the future. Speaking as a Chinese who understands China, can you make an estimate or a guess as to the future of China? Do you think in the near future it will become again a unified country, a strongly unified country that might represent some kind of a danger to Southeast Asia?
First of all, I can't speak as a Chinese because I am a Singaporean. I am of Chinese ethnic stock, and I think this is crucial. I mean, if you ask me to speak as a Chinese...
As an ethnic Chinese.
Yeah, well, you know, the Chinese People's Republic in Peking will be, I think, quite rightfully indignant, and so will the other aspirant in Taipei. But speaking as a Singaporean, with some of the built-in memory programming of the Chinese people, I would say that if you believe that the Chinese people will just splinter up into so many warlord communist committees, each governing a province or even part of a province, then you will make one of the gravest mistakes about Asia. I think I've traveled around the world often, and you know, people don't know that I come from Singapore, and they treat me as a Chinese or as a Chinaman in the old days, as they used to call them. And they used to say, Chiang Kai-shek, you know, in the middle 40s, and nowadays, of course, Mao Zedong. I'd say that they are determined as a people to unify and build a modern, powerful, wealthy Chinese nation. And I say good luck to them. And I think the moment they get prosperous, good luck to me, because I'll be much safer. I don't believe, however, you know, the simple theory that they're just going to send their armies across and eat up Southeast Asia. It's too simple.
After stepping down as Prime Minister of Singapore in 1990, Kuan Yew often shared his insights on China with the international media and at various forums. Former US Vice President Al Gore even said that anyone looking for a perspective on China should ask Kuan Yew. He believed that Li, who had strong connections with Beijing's leaders, played a crucial role in understanding China. So what made Kuan Yew's view on China so special? In 2013, he published a book called One Man's View of the World, where he shared his thoughts on global issues, with a big focus on China. Li understood that China was unique, and he wrote about this in his book. For 5,000 years, the Chinese have believed that the country is safe only when the center is strong. A weak center means confusion and chaos. Every Chinese understands that. It is their cardinal principle. Some in the West want to see China become a democracy in the Western tradition. That will not happen. China is a vast country of 1.3 billion people with a different culture and a different history. It will do it its way. Before we wrap up this video, we'd like to share more of Kuan Yew's thoughts on China's future.
Because the major changes that are taking place is the recovery of China and to a lesser extent of India, the places they occupied 2 centuries or 3 centuries ago before Western colonization blanketed them. 3 centuries ago, they were, between the two of them, 60% of the world GDP, just the population and the production that they put out. China is again on the growth path. She's now a member of WTO. She knows that every year she's growing faster than anybody else and can do that for another 20, 30 years because they've got such an enormous number of workers back in the West in the hinterland, 8, 9%, 10%, no trouble at all. But after that, then they reach a ceiling where the labor is concerned, and then they got to increase productivity. But by then, in 30 years, they would have an economy, not per capita, but in total terms, bigger than the USA, which means they've got resources to build up political, strategic, and other influence. And in fact, in anticipation of that, people already treat her differently because they know that this is going to be a big fellow around the block. It's a watershed. I mean, the world order that we knew was dominated by the Caucasian peoples. Europe, technology, sailing ships, then aircraft, they conquered the world. Industrialization.
Globalization.
Well, industrialization first, and then they
globalization.
globalize it. And America is the extension of Europe, with a difference in that she's more embracing of other races. The 20th century was the American century. The first half of the 21st century, a large part of it will still be the American. But I believe the second half, you will have to share top places with China and also with India, make space for them too.
What should the United States do as it looks at the inevitable growth of China as a dominant player? What would be a wise foreign policy?
I think...
Because you have 2 or 3 decades before it reaches its full strength.
No, even in 3 decades it won't reach its full strength. In 3 decades, its per capita is still about 1/3 of America.
Right. Its gross domestic product.
Well, for it to reach America's standard of living and standard of technology will take more than 100 years.
So what should the United States do while it has the position it has now?
I think make sure that they feel that they are accepted at the top table.
Make sure that China feels like it's accepted at the top table.
Yes, your place is waiting for you when you make it, but you got to play by the rules of the game. And the key really is whether the next generation, this generation understands it. They know that they have no chance competing against the West, America especially, in technology, and especially military technology. There's absolutely no chance. Let me build an aircraft carrier to guard the shipping lines where they carry oil and other minerals. This is the first time where the Chinese are growing, but dependent on the world for its resources.
But they're going around the world signing up contracts in Iran and in Africa.
Absolutely, but before that, it's all within the Chinese empire. They don't have to worry about the rest of the world. This time, they have to worry about the rest of the world, because without the resources, the oil, the iron ore, nickel, whatever, the growth will stop.
Will they be able to create the domestic demand that's necessary as they find exports reduced?
Slowly. But in the meantime, there's keeping the economy going by enormous expenditure on infrastructure in the West. High-speed roads, high-speed railways, airports, telephone lines, bringing water from the south up to the north where it's arid and dry. Huge, enormous mammoth projects. That keeps it going.